Hello and welcome to another episode of Battle Ready.
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 What are we doing today, Dad?
Well, today we will talk about, there's been a lot of models that have come out, refreshes for
Indeed,
models.
There has.
And we talked about what are the models that are still most in need of a refresh.
I would like to go first.
You would like to go first. All right. So these are models that we already have existing models of. So right now, we're not talking about new models that would be good for an army. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
We're talking about fixing
But
models.
I don't know about fixing, but models that are they're showing their age.
Yep.
They're showing their age. All right, Drake, what is your first pick?
Almost all of Gutbusters.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like the Gutbusters, for the most part, don't look bad.
But they are old.
But they are old.
They're resin. Some of them are resin.
Some of them are resin. That's true.
Evil.
And I feel like the ones that aren't, like the Iron Guts and the Gutbusters, yeah, they show their age primarily because they're old fantasy models, so they're real squished together, right? Because they were meant to be on square bases, all ranked up. And I feel like if they had, gave them a more dynamic poses, that would be really cool. And I also feel like they could probably, scale creep is a thing. Everything has gotten a little bit bigger in Warhammer. And I feel like the Gutbusters and the Iron Guts,
they look short.
They're a little short. They could be a little bit bigger. I mean, if I had my druthers, maybe you still put the Gutbusters on 40 mils, but I would sort of like to see basically all foot ogres on at least 50 mils. And because they're just that big, I think that would be really cool. And then you sort of like, bring up the points and bring up the damage to do that. Just like on the BCR side, right? You only end up with, a few monster trucks and some extra stuff.
Monster trucks?
Like the Thunder Tusks and Stonehorns.
Okay,
yeah. Because they're those little trucks you move around.
I was like, we're going into Gorka Morka?
Yeah, Gorka Morka land. Well, they do like Gorka Morka. But also, I feel like you could do something similar where obviously Gutbusters would have more models, right? Because they're all foot ogres and not riding anything. But you could just have it where it's just very elite. It's just very elite. So you'd have fewer Gutbusters than, say, an army of Stormcast, right? Stormcast is pretty elite.
Yep.
But Ogre should be even more.
You only get like 50 golden boys.
Yeah. All right. So that's a good one. I think that is good. And I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed, that when we see Ogres in 4th edition, it will come with a significant refresh.
Dot your T's and cross your I's?
No, that's something else. But I'm hoping for a good Gutbuster refresh. All right, here's my first pick. I think the models that probably could use it the most are basically all of the Tzeentch demons.
Yeah.
I think almost all of the Tzeentch demons just look awful. I think the Screamers are okay.
Yeah, Screamers are fine.
I think Horrors are...
I think Horrors look good.
I don't know if I would say they look good, but I think they're okay. Some people really hate Horrors. They think they look terrible.
I think some of it comes from that they're just stupid little torpedoes.
I think the Brimstones actually don't look great, but the blues look okay. The pinks look fine.
I think the pinks
I don't think there's anything wrong with them. But when you look at things like the Flamers and the Exalted Chariots, they all look like snot balls. I mean, you paint them blue, but otherwise they'd look like they were from Nurgle. All right, they're just hideous creatures. I would really, really like to see... one of the things I actually like about the pink Horrors is that you have the pink Horror and some of them, most of them look like these little multi-armed crazy monsters.
Evil land octopi.
But a couple of them have like a beak and a bird face.
That's why I call them octopi.
Sort of carries that avian idea, which
I think
Tzeentch has.
There should be way more bird stuff with Tzeentch.
Yeah, well, I think a lot, now not everything, because Tzeentch has changed, right? So you wouldn't want anything to be too uniform. But I think a lot of the stuff like the Flamers and whatnot, you could have a new model that looked better, and some of them could sort of carry on that avian. But yeah, I think almost all of the demons should get a refresh because they look pretty bad. I think all of we have a Tzeentch army. I really enjoy Tzeentch, but we have basically all mortals.
Yeah, we have 50 Karakak coins.
Yeah, because the...
Wait, what about chicken?
I think the chicken actually looks good.
That one can stay.
I'm on board with that. Same thing with Kairos. I think the Greater Demon basically looks good, but all of the other ones, all the lesser demons look look pretty trash. All right, what else you got?
Trying to think. Warhammer's been doing a really good job at making fun new toys.
Yeah, you know what? At towards the end or middle-ish, but through second edition and now third edition and now into fourth, they've done a pretty good job on some refreshes. Mm-hmm. Now they've introduced some new units too, which has been great, but they refreshed Graveguard.
Yep.
To the new Barrow Guard.
I would have said Graveguard. Right?
Yeah, I would have as well. It was a good refresh.
It was like,
so they refreshed a bunch of Seraphon stuff in third edition. They did.
That was
They
good.
did not refresh, though, the Temple Guard.
All right, well, let's put Temple Guard on the list.
Temple Guard belongs on the list because they still look like the old, terrible derp lizards with their derp faces.
Derp lizards!
And they need to do something with that.
I don't know why they didn't get refreshed. There's no reason.
I feel like I don't think there's a game reason or I basically what I think it is they didn't get refreshed because they could only do so many models at once, right? It was probably a capacity thing more than anything else. But they look terrible. They look terrible.
If you tried to refresh them, you'd make these like old grizzled sorcerers with these bone helmets and
you could
dozens of like chains and necklaces to show just how art they are.
Yeah, I think you could do tons of stuff with them to make them look really cool. But right now, not cool. Yeah. Right now, pretty derpy. And it wasn't so bad. I mean, they were bad, but it wasn't so bad when the Saurus Warriors also looked derpy.
Because then it's like uniform derpiness.
Yeah, because it's just like, okay, Saurus just looked derpy, I guess. But now that you've got cool ones and cool Kroxigors and all that, now the Temple Guard really look out of place.
Along with the Skinks. The Skinks look a little derpy.
You know, I think the Skinks have held up pretty well.
They're not as derp.
I actually think the Skinks, I mean, they're not the best models in the world. I don't think I would pick them for like best models in a range. They're not. But I could see them. I could wait a while before we refresh Skinks. Mm-hmm. I think they hold up well enough. So I put them on the same level as like Horrors of Tzeentch, where I feel like, I mean, if they got refreshed, I wouldn't cry about it. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. But there's other stuff that I think is more in need. Needed. Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to think of like factions we don't have in their models.
It's hard to say. When it's a faction we don't have, we don't see it on the table enough.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. So there might be factions out there like maybe the ghouls for Flesh Eater Courts.
But they just got the whole range.
No, the regular ghouls, the basics. I forget what they're called, serfs or what, I can't remember. But the basic ghouls are still the old models.
Why?
One thing I will say, the last one that came to my mind that I would really like to see refreshed, it's a twofer. Is one, the Witch Elves and therefore Sisters of Slaughter.
Yeah, I get that.
And two, the Doomfire Warlocks.
Yeah.
I think both of those things.
Things that never worked in third.
Yeah.
Never once. Never even once.
No, not for us they didn't work.
I never let it happen because it was so scary.
Well, I think the Witches and Sisters, I think you need to just change those. And it's unfortunate because Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter, but that thing could be so dynamic.
You could have like one jumping like this.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be these pivoting, whirling, dervishy, crazy ninja people, so lithe and swift and nimble.
Doing backflips.
But they all stand and some of them are up on one toe, which I guess is supposed to be good. But you look at the way they do models now, and they could include a lot more movement, making them look like they're in all kinds of dynamic poses.
The squigs. The squig show.
Many of the squigs, for sure.
True.
And then I think the Doomfire Warlocks.
Derp horses.
In addition to just having bad rules, but I think their models sort of look bad.
Derp.
I think they just sort of look bad. I feel like the faces aren't good, poses aren't good. The horses look very sort of standard.
One just has like scissors.
Yep, one of them has scissor weapons. I mean, it's just like,
why?
I don't know. And with some of these ones, like, okay, for example, let's look at the Temple Guard. I think they need a refresh for sure. But the Seraphon range is also so large that if in the Seraphon book, when the Seraphon book comes out, there just isn't Temple Guard.
That would make sense.
I wouldn't cry about it.
Because we don't own any.
Well, we don't own any, so it wouldn't affect us. That's for sure.
We just turn them into like super
just
stores.
Looking at it as the
game,
the game, it's like, do you really need Temple Guard? We could do without that and do some other stuff, right? If they went the way of the the Dodo, the Beastmen. Sorry to bring that up again. But if they went that way, it
Again?
wouldn't be so bad. And I sort of feel the same way about Doomfires. Like if they just decided, all right, Doomfires aren't a thing anymore. We're not going to do Doomfires.
Retcon.
It would be sad for us because we have 10 of them, which is a bummer.
I've never done anything ever.
No, very little.
I murdered them with all of them.
Very little. But I could see that. I could look at it and be like, okay, yeah, they have a very weird role in the army right now. They're not super useful. They've never been super useful. And so I could see them sort of like just saying, get rid of, we're going to go a different direction. Doc's going to get other stuff, but we're not going to refresh them. That'd be okay. But Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter, I think you need those guys. So I would like to see.
Unless you're playing all Snake Ladies all the time.
Yeah. But I'm just saying for the health of the army. I think that kind of thing, that kind of infantry. I mean, I guess you could refresh them and say, all right, they're not Sisters of Slaughter and Witch Elves anymore. Now they're Morai Heg Acolytes. You could come up with another name. Just like they're not Graveguard anymore.
Retcon.
They're not Graveguard anymore, right there. Barrowguard, right?
To make them look new and shiny.
You could do something like that. But I think you need an infantry unit like that.
I also like the name Graveguard more.
Huh?
I like the name Graveguard way more.
Than Barrowguard?
Yeah. Because
I like Barrowguard better.
It felt nice because like Graveguard. Jesus.
Oh, I see. It rolls off the tongue better? Yeah, okay, I can do that.
Barrowguard.
I like Barrowguard because it's a little more...
deathly.
It is a little bit more deathly, but also Graveguard sounds very simple. Sounds very like, what do they guard? Oh, I don't know, graves? I mean, it sounds simple. And I think one of the things that Warhammer is it's extra. Warhammer tries to be pretty extra.
Except the orcs. They're peak.
Yeah, except the orcs.
Because the orcs are the best.
I think those would probably be my top picks. Now, before we started recording, you mentioned Stabas. You think Stabas?
Yes.
Okay, we'll make them extra pointy, though.
No! Me hands have suffered far too long from their pointiness.
I would put Stabas maybe just a little bit below the sort of the horrors and that sort of thing.
I put them like ogres level bad.
I would put them close to ogres. I put them close to ogres.
Because they're just the same guy holding a stick in the air.
Yeah.
Ready to murder your hand.
I think a little bit more dynamism would be good.
Especially the shooters.
I actually don't think, I think ogres is a good analogy because I think like ogres, I don't think the sculpts themselves, if you looked at one by itself, I don't think it looks particularly bad. I mean, it's a little old, but it's fine. Mm. But when you mass them all up and they all sort of have a very similar stance, it does sort of start to look like, nah. And Stabas is a bad one too, or Shooters even, because you have like 20 of them. Right? So at least with ogres, if you have a min unit, it's 6 of them, 6 iron guts.
It's a really weird.
Or 4 iron guts and 6 gut busters.
They've got weird models size, unit sizing. They've got weird,
the ogres?
Yeah, they've got weird unit sizing.
But
also, stab.
If you had Stabas, you got 20 of them out there. So I think it is more noticeable.
Your hands.
Yeah, they do. They are pretty pokey.
They need to have their spears more in not pokey directions.
I sort of like the spears being up because they fit in the box better. And they rank up a little bit better.
Dad, your hands!
Just gotta be careful.
Like an armored gauntlet. Just
yeah, exactly.
Like a power fist. Just.
Well, let us know in the comments below what you think. What models would you like to see a refresh on? And have we hit the basics, or did we name something that you're like, no, never? This
they
model
are
is
perfect and pretty and beautiful, and you will never touch them.
Never redo these ones. All right. Any final thoughts?
Nope.
All right.
Done them all.
This has been
all
another.
Of them.
All of them.
All of them.
This has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Ready.
Thanks so much for watching.